Sometimes the deepest heartbreak isn't caused by strangers, but by the people we once trusted with our entire future. If you want more powerful, emotional life stories just like this, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to the channel. The calm before everything changed. When I look back on my marriage, I always start with the quiet mornings. The way sunlight poured into our kitchen in Atlanta, warm and gold, like it chose us on purpose. My wife, Lena, would hum old R&B classics while making oatmeal, her voice soft in the early hours. She always claimed mornings were a fresh start, a clean slate. Maybe that's why it still feels strange that our ending started early one morning too. It was a Thursday, I remember, because Thursdays were the days I packed my meetings close so I could leave work early. Lena loved when I surprised her with dinner from the little soul food place near our old neighborhood, a place that still called me baby, even though I was pushing 35. But that day, when I walked into the kitchen, Lena wasn't humming. She was staring at the counter like it had whispered something terrible to her. "Marcus," she said softly, I think I need some time." The words echoed in the room, reshaping the air. For a moment, I thought she meant she needed a walk, a break from chores, maybe even a solo trip to her sister's. But then she said, "I need to go away for a while. A month, maybe more, just to find myself." Find herself. I thought I knew every corner of her heart, but she didn't offer more, and I tried to respect her need for space. I told myself strong marriages bend without breaking. She packed a medium suitcase, kissed my cheek, whispered, "I just need clarity," and left. I watched her taillights fade down our street, unaware that when she returned, my life would be split into a before and after. Missing without being lost. She called twice that first week, said she was in Arizona, said she needed the desert quiet, said she was journaling, meditating, rediscovering her sense of self. Her voice sounded calm, but something in it felt distant, like she had placed parts of herself behind a locked door. I tried to be supportive. She had been struggling with stress at work, pressure from her parents asking when we'd start a family, and a general cloud of exhaustion that no amount of sleep seemed to solve. Maybe this trip would help her breathe again, but as the days stretched into weeks, the calls got shorter. Then they stopped. By day 23, I was rehearsing conversations I wanted to have with her. I pictured her walking back through our door laughing about how dramatic she'd been, maybe hugging me from behind like she always used to. I held onto that image like a lifeline. Then, on a bright, unassuming Tuesday, she returned. The moment time froze. I had just stepped out onto our patio to water the plants when I saw her. Lena stood there, suitcase beside her, one hand resting on her stomach. She looked healthier, somehow, glowing, renewed, but my world collapsed in slow motion as I took in the gentle curve beneath her hand. She was pregnant, visibly, 6 months, no, 3, maybe 4. Enough that there was absolutely no way it could be mine. My chest tightened, and the breeze felt suddenly sharp. I walked toward her slowly, every step trembling with confusion, disbelief, and a pain that hadn't fully formed yet. "Lena, what happened?" She looked away, eyes watery but not with guilt, more like exhaustion. Or resignation. "Marcus," she whispered, "I didn't expect this. I didn't plan it. I'm still trying to understand it myself." The patio felt too open, too bright, too exposed for a conversation like that. I could hear the distant hum of neighborhood lawns being mowed, the faint chatter of neighbors walking their dogs. Our home, our sanctuary, was suddenly a stage for the unraveling of everything I once believed was unbreakable. "Whose is it?" I asked, voice barely steady. She closed her eyes, inhaled slowly, and said, "Someone I met while I was gone." That sentence became a fracture line through my life. No shouting, no slammed doors, just a silence so heavy it felt like gravity had doubled. I stepped back instinctively, like her words were something physical that could hit me. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said, voice trembling. I was confused, lost. He listened. Things moved too fast, and then I found out I was pregnant and, "Marcus, I didn't know how to tell you." I nodded, numb. I didn't yell. I didn't ask 100 questions clawing at my throat. I just looked at her, the woman I once thought I knew better than anyone. "You left to find yourself," I finally said, "and came back with someone else's child." She covered her belly, as if the truth itself could hurt the life growing inside her. "I'm sorry," she whispered, but that word was too small for the storm inside me. The breaking point. I walked inside without another word. I didn't slam the door, though part of me wanted to. But anger wasn't what filled me, It was a deep, sinking sadness that spread through my chest like cold water. Inside the house, every room felt like a memory. The couch where we used to sit tangled together watching movies. The hallway where we danced to music at midnight just because. The framed photos of vacations, anniversaries, spontaneous happy moments. I realized, painfully, that the woman in those photos felt more like a stranger now than the one on our patio. She followed me inside, wiping tears from her cheeks. "Marcus, please, can we talk?" I shook my head gently. "I don't think there's anything left to say." She reached for my arm, but I stepped away, not out of anger, but because the touch of her hand felt like the ghost of a life that had already ended. "I still love you," she pleaded. I swallowed hard. "I believe you think you do." The decision I never thought I'd make. That night, I packed a small bag. Not out of panic, but out of clarity. Rain began tapping softly against the windows, turning the world blurry and gentle, almost as if nature wanted to quiet the chaos. Lena sat on the edge of the bed, watching me with trembling hands. "You're leaving," she whispered. I paused, my hand resting on a folded shirt. "I need to. For my own peace. I didn't want to lose you," she said. "You're the best part of my life." I looked at her, at the woman carrying a child that wasn't ours, and tears finally broke free. "Then why wasn't I enough?" I asked softly. Her face collapsed, but she didn't have an answer, maybe because there wasn't one. I zipped my bag, walked to the door, then turned back. "I hope you find the peace you were looking for," I said. "Truly, but I can't stay and pretend this doesn't change everything." She sobbed into her hands. The sound tore through me, but not enough to stop me. I walked out, closed the door gently behind me. And just like that, the life we had built together ended, not with a fight, not with rage, but with sorrow. Healing isn't linear. I moved into my brother's guest room for a while. He didn't ask questions, just handed me a spare key and said, "Stay as long as you need." My mother called every other day, offering casseroles and comfort. Friends reached out, some offering distractions, others simply offering presents. But healing didn't come quickly, or neatly. It came in waves. Some mornings, I woke up and felt lighter, convinced I was moving forward. Other days, a memory, her laugh, her handwriting, her favorite playlist, would knock the breath out of me. I didn't blame her every day. Some days, I blamed myself. Other days, I blamed circumstances. Most days, I just accepted that we were two people who broke under the weight of unspoken burdens. One night, I sat outside under a sky full of stars, sipping tea, listening to crickets. I realized that life doesn't always unravel loudly. Sometimes it unravels quietly, thread by thread, until one day you look down and realize you're holding pieces instead of the whole. And maybe that's okay, because broken pieces can become the beginning of something new. The letter she sent. 2 months after I left, Lena sent me a letter. Not a text, not an email, a handwritten letter delivered to my brother's house. I stared at it for an hour before opening it. Inside, her handwriting wavered like she'd written it through tears. She apologized again, not with excuses, not with explanations, just honesty. She told me the truth of her loneliness, her fear, her confusion about the future. She told me she understood why I walked away and didn't blame me. At the end, she wrote, "I hope one day, peace will settle in your heart the way I once hoped it would settle in mine." I folded the letter gently and placed it in a drawer, not because I wanted to revisit the pain, but because it reminded me of something important. Sometimes people break your heart without ever meaning to. Sometimes love isn't enough to keep two people together. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away before you lose yourself completely. The life after. A year later, I bought a small condo downtown. I planted herbs on the balcony. I learned to cook more than 3 meals. I went back to volunteering at the community center. Life didn't fix itself. It simply grew around the cracks, looming in unexpected ways. Every now and then, I think of Lena. Not with bitterness, not with anger, just with quiet acceptance. She had her journey, I had mine, and that had to be enough. One evening, as I stood watching the sunset paint the city in soft orange light, I realized something. Walking away wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of who I was meant to become. If you've ever had to walk away from someone you loved, not because you wanted to, but because staying hurt too deeply, I hope you know that healing is possible, and that your story isn't over. Not even close. If you want more emotional, heartfelt life stories like this, make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps bring these stories to life.